You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
I believe that Washington is broken, and I have 8 years of experience at the state level.
There's one very big difference between what he can bring, what I can bring, and that's my intimate understanding of healthcare.
Congressman Tom Rooney is retiring. We know the Republicans who are running, but would a Democrat even have a chance to win? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the race in the 17th Congressional District in a moment, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. A former New Orleans Saint cheerleader now living in Sarasota is filing a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission against the NFL team, accusing the organization of gender discrimination. Bailey Davis moved to Sarasota after she was fired by the Saints following a social media post. Their cheerleaders have to follow strict social media guidelines, blocking all players and not posting provocative photos. Davis was fired after posting on social media a photo of herself in what she calls a black bodysuit. The complaint is about more than her photo, focusing on what she calls unfair rules and regulations for the women.
I want to be treated like a professional athlete, just like the professional football players are treated like professional football players. I want to be treated like a professional cheerleader.
The Saints deny treating Davis differently because of her gender and responded to the complaint saying that it does not tolerate any form of discrimination. Tonight at 11, we'll show you the photo that got Davis fired and what she hopes changes because of the complaint. Brush fires are continuing to cause issues on the Suncoast. Currently, there are 2 active brush fires in South Sarasota County. Dry conditions have put parts of Sarasota and Manatee at moderate or high risk for these fires over the past week. Over the past weekend, the Myakka River District responded to 5 wildfires, a 5-county area for a total of 180 acres. Florida Forest Service expects the rest of the season to be as busy as last year.
But if you walk into any wooded area, you'll still see a lot of down trees and debris that's on the ground that's not been picked up because it's in the woods. And so that just makes it a little bit more difficult for us to get in there, but it also provides more fuel on the ground for the fire to take hold of and burn.
There are no predictions of significant rain until the end of May or early June. The push continues for Manatee County EMS to change its policy after a man's body was left on the side of the road for hours. Today, county commissioners met with Sheriff Rick Wells to discuss what should be done with the remains of a patient who has died of natural causes in a public place. EMS units will now transfer the patient's remains to an ambulance and wait for instructions from the sheriff's deputy on the scene. If the patient's identity is unknown or the funeral home is unable to respond quickly, the EMS crew will transport the body to the medical examiner's office. The Venice City Council is approving a major security upgrade at the city water plant. The upgrades will include new roofs and a hardening for wind resistance to protect the buildings during hurricanes. It will also provide for better security. Some of the barbed wire needs to be replaced to protect the city's drinking water supply.
I want to make sure that it's a secured facility so that we don't have people coming in from the outside, either on purpose or mistakenly, to endanger the city's water supply.
The project will cost around $3.7 million. Construction could begin in late this year or early next year. The Sarasota Sheriff's Office announcing today it is looking to hire 14 deputies and assign them to 12 elementary schools. The new school resource deputy will be responsible for ensuring safety for all students, faculty, and staff. They'll patrol the school and surrounding area, participate on the threat assessment team, and attend after-school events as needed. They'll work 10 months out of the year, and the starting salary is $23 an hour. Congressman Vern Buchanan was on the Suncoast to discuss new legislation investing $4 billion to deal with the deadly opioid epidemic. This is a $3 billion increase over last year and the largest allocation of federal anti-drug funding in history. $2 billion of the money will support treatment and prevention programs. $386 million will go to the VA health system to help prevent abuse. The remainder of the money will go to help keep drugs from crossing the borders. And Florida saw a 97% increase in fentanyl-related deaths from 2015 to 2016. Putting gun control at the top of his to-do list, Democratic gubernatorial candidate Philip Levine says he'll push for a ban on assault weapons, including a ballot referendum if necessary if he is elected. Speaking to the capital city Tiger Bay Club, Levine rattled off a list of accomplishments he says he achieved during his 8 years as mayor of Miami Beach. When asked what his priorities would be if elected governor, Levine says a ban on assault weapons would be at the top of his list.
I'm a Democrat, but as I tell everyone, before I'm a Democrat, I'm an American. And I don't believe that anyone has a monopoly on good ideas, not Republicans, not Democrats, and not independents. I'm not right, and I'm not left. I'm forward.
Levine is in the hotly contested Democratic primary in the race to succeed Governor Rick Scott, who can't seek re-election because of term limits. Now let's head over to ABC7's meteorologist Steve Newman with the first alert forecast. Steve.
Alan, it certainly was windy today over the bay. In fact, they had to cancel the sailboat regatta from City Island because it was the wrong direction and too strong, but hopefully it'll be better tomorrow. 77, the current temperature at the airport. We have an east-southeast wind at 15, gusting above that. Humidity's down to 42% with a dew point of 52. Our high today was about 6 degrees warmer than normal, about 5 degrees warmer than normal for the overnight lows. That's a pattern we'll probably have for the rest of the week. Across Florida at this hour, 78 at Tampa, 72 at Miami, in the 60s in part of the Panhandle. And across our viewing area, pretty much 70s everywhere. Punta Gorda 76, the same at Arcadia. Now let's take a look at our satellite image, and the air is not quite as moist as it was yesterday when we had showers moving into the Atlantic coast. A few cumulus clouds moving in from the Atlantic over Florida, but hardly any of them are reaching us. And if we look at radar, there's absolutely no rain being indicated on the radar scopes across the entire state of Florida. It should stay that way tonight and until our next chance of rain comes in on Saturday. Here is the overnight planner. Look at this. Temperature staying mild through the evening hours. I mean, if you're down here visiting, if you have friends visiting, this is about the nicest weather you can get in the country right now because it's dry, it's warm, and it'll stay that way.
Yeah, it's great for the visitors. It's not so good for the lawns.
No, but this is our dry season. The rainy season starts in June. It cannot help but start in June. We're trying, but every year we say, when's it going to rain? June.
All right, thanks a lot. Still to come, Election Day is only 7 months away. What can we expect from the candidates in the 17th Congressional District?
One of the motivating factors for me to become a Big Brother was that I was mentored as a youth. And it was important for me to kind of pass forward the things that were kind of given to me. It's really just as simple as getting to know a kid. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to have any of those other things. You just have to be willing to spend a little time and help mold some young person's life.
My name is Julius. I have cerebral palsy. I work for Farmer Jeffrey Weising Law Firm. I do a lot of data entry and scanning documents. I want to increase my working experience to make the company much better. At the end of the day, it's good to think of the day's work and to think about what I have accomplished.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to abilitieswork.employflorida.com.
Everybody can make something because I think everyone has a spark of creativity, and the reason that I have to keep making is because I don't think my life would be as fulfilling without it. If you make things yourself, that means you're not cowering in fear. You're out there taking chances. That, I think, is my way of saying I love you to the world. All right, now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
Growing up, my mom was afraid of the water, something she did not want me to feel.
So I enrolled Missy in swim lessons.
It changed my life.
Missy Franklin.
And now you can do the same for someone that you love.
There's nothing more precious than your child's well-being.
So act now, before it's too late.
Make us swim! I'm glad I did.
Thanks, Mom. Visit usaswimmingfoundation.org to find, get, or give a swim lesson.
ABC7 News at 7, weeknights.
Congressman Tom Rooney's 10th year in office will be his last. In February, the representative of Florida's 17th Congressional District, which includes Venice, Northport, and Charlotte County, announced he would not run for re-election in 2018. ABC7's Adam Cellini has more.
Local Congressman Tom Rooney is joining 32 other U.S. House members retiring this year, and he's the second to do so from Florida.
Any seat from Florida right now is extremely important. We're a key state.
Venice Republican Frank Patty was surprised to hear Rooney was stepping down, but it's been a rough year for the congressman under President Donald Trump. In Washington, he endured 14 months of the frustrating Russian meddling investigation as a senior member of the House Intelligence Committee.
We've lost all credibility, and we're going to issue probably two different reports, unfortunately.
At home, he's been bombarded by constituents with the group Indivisible Venice.
My goal was to make him not want to run again.
We made enough phone calls, sent enough emails, held enough rallies to make him realize that perhaps he was not the best man for the job.
He leaves behind a district Donald Trump carried by 27%, and two well-known local Republicans have already jumped into the race.
I'm concerned about federal policy and what's going on with our Constitution and the changes that are being imparted upon it by judicial decree.
I believe that Washington is broken, and I have 8 years of experience at the state level, and I want to bring that experience to Washington.
State Representative Julio Gonzalez and State Senator Greg Stubbe are both veterans, lawyers, and as new college political science professor Frank Alcock points out, will occupy the same lane on the campaign trail.
They're both very conservative, and I think that's what makes this race interesting.
Stubbe says he would have a much better relationship with the president than his predecessor.
I support his agenda wholeheartedly, and I think we need congressmen in D.C. to support the things that he's trying to do to cut taxes, to reduce regulations, and to make America the way that we need to be moving forward.
And Gonzalez, who already lives in the district, believes his career as an orthopedic surgeon separates him from the pack.
There's one very big difference between what he can bring, what I can bring, and that's my intimate understanding of healthcare.
On the Democratic side, Lee County businesswoman April Freeman is running for a second time, along with Bill Pollard, a respiratory therapist from Sebring. The race is also creating a ripple effect throughout state elections, with Rooney leaving his seat and 2 state office holders going after it. A total of 3 state positions will be opening without an incumbent during the fall, as another state representative, Joe Gruters, announced he will be going after Stubbe's open Senate seat. Democrats, who are still energized by Margaret Good's state representative victory earlier this year, are looking forward to those open races.
The advantages that an incumbent has of name recognition and fundraising go away, so now it's more of a fair fight for the voters, and the Democrats are definitely going to play in that.
Alcock says there'll be tough districts to win, but more Republican candidates than Democrat could be an advantage.
You're going to have Republican primaries. And that's always a good thing if those things get contentious. It's a good thing for the Democratic candidate.
The day after Rooney announced he was stepping down, he skipped a Republican club event that Frank Patty organized and Indivisible Venice protested. Now, both sides are hoping for similar qualities in whoever takes over next.
We want somebody who's going to stick to their guns and be able to stand up for us and what we need.
And also communicate. Communication is key. Listen and explain why you take a position that you're taking.
The congressman's job, as the senator's, is to watch out for the interest of Florida. You know, so I want somebody good in there, someone who will stand up, someone who understands the facts and can articulate themselves quite well.
Coming up at the Trapezoid, gaming the race for the 17th Congressional District and all the dominoes from Tom Rooney's exit. Stay with us.
Since 1972, Sleep King has provided quality mattresses and accessories at the best discounted prices available. Top brands like Simmons, Sealy, Serta, Beautyrest, iComfort, and more. With available free delivery, free financing, and free setup and removal. For a comfortable night's sleep with same-day delivery, even if we have to carry it on our backs. Trust Sleep King of Sarasota. Buy it today, sleep on it tonight.
A decade of war has taken an unprecedented toll on our men and women in uniform.
Hundreds of thousands of our veterans are suffering from the trauma of war.
At Justice for Vets, we believe that every veteran should have the opportunity for treatment and restoration.
Get involved and go to justiceforvets.org.
Help put treatment within reach of veterans in crisis.
Veterans fought for our freedom. Now it's our turn to fight for theirs.
When my youngest, Addie, was 2.5, she was diagnosed with leukemia. When we first heard that diagnosis, you feel extremely alone. Walking in that Light the Night light with 6,000 people carrying lights, white for survivors, red for supporters, gold in memory of those who have passed. It's the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's hope that every year there are fewer gold lanterns. Your lantern will make a difference.
Start a team, join a team.
Help us light the night.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Welcome back. Tom, we hardly got to know ye. Redistricting only recently made Tom Rooney congressman to the Suncoast residents living south of Clark Road. So no long goodbyes for Tom. More interesting, who's replacing you? Will it be State Senator Greg Steube bringing his cowboy hat and his love for filing legislation expanding where you could bring a gun to Washington? Or will it be State Representative slash orthopedic surgeon slash attorney Julio Gonzalez? Or can the big blue wave we keep on hearing about turn the 17th Congressional District from red to blue? And joining us for more are Frank Alcock, political science professor at New College, Martin Hyde, a former candidate for Sarasota City Commission, and Kathy Antunes, host of The Detail on WSRQ Radio. And no offense to Tom Rooney, I know he has his in-laws who live in Venice, Frank, but we recently only got Tom Rooney as our congressman. This is a congressional district that has over time shifted from West Palm Beach all the way to here. So
it's the strangest congressional district in Florida.
Why?
I think in 9 different counties, and so the amount of space that is covered is enormous. But the population gravity, I think, with the changes, are still in southern half of Sarasota County. We've got a lot of people here, and I think the candidates that hail from this part of the district have a leg up, I think.
But, you know, Tom Rooney called Okeechobee home, but in reality, as his district director often told me, Tom Rooney lived in Washington, D.C. with his wife and kids. So it's not that we're losing a local personality here, but the question, Kathy and Martin, is who is best able to get support in this district going out all the way to Okeechobee? And Martin, who do you think would have the advantage there?
Oh, I think the advantage is clearly with Greg Steube. He's got an agricultural background. He's been in the Senate. His father was chief law enforcement in Manatee County. I think he's got more name recognition, and you rightly said, I mean, a significant part of the percentage of people that are going to vote are going to be in Charlotte and Sarasota counties. These other counties, the more rural ones, tend to be more conservative, and obviously that's going to favor him.
They tend to be more conservative, Kathy, and Julio Gonzalez fits that bill, and he is a big man down in South County. I mean, he is one of the biggest political names down there.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be an interesting race. I have to agree with Martin. My
take in terms of the Republican
We can
side
write that
would
down
be.
right now.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
agreeing
right.
with Martin.
That's right.
Yes, I do think that Stubbe has a bit of a leg up, but you know, there's this unknown factor with the blue wave, and you see the energy of the indivisible folks.
Well, Frank, I mean, a lot of Democrats look at the House 72 race and the number of Republican women who crossed over and voted for Margaret Good, and they are wondering tonight whether that can apply to a district like the 17th Congressional District.
I think it can. It's just that it's a higher bar. So you're looking at a district that Trump won by 27 points. If you're looking at a district that's closer to single digits or 10 or 15, that becomes potentially very competitive. This one, it has a higher bar. But I do think the wave is, you're going to see it everywhere. And so there's going to be a boost. There'll be a wind at the back of the Democratic candidate. It is a conservative district. And you just don't know what's going to happen, what revelations will come up at the end of the campaign. And so you know, it's important, I think, for the Democrats to run as strong a candidate out there as they possibly can.
Revelations meaning what?
We just never, you never know. You know, you don't know what's going to happen in terms of what pops up with particular candidates. I'm not saying anything about the candidates. But I'm just saying, you know, much of this area actually was an area that when it was the 16th district in Foley had it. There were the sort of the sexual misconduct with the pages up in Washington, and he lost it to a Democrat in a close race, and then Negron won it shortly after that. But you never know what's going to happen.
All right, we have to take a quick break. We are just getting warmed up. We'll have much more on the 17th Congressional District right after we check the first alert weather, so stay with us.
Any website selling medication may look professional and legitimate, but the vast majority of sites selling prescription drugs are doing so illegally. Criminals use websites to sell counterfeit medications that may contain life-threatening toxins. Dot Pharmacy is a website verification program that helps you identify safe and trustworthy online pharmacies. Purchasing medicine online can be safe and easy. Just look for pharmacy to the right of the dot in website addresses.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. Yeah. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you. Watch ABC7 wherever you are, on our live stream, on mysuncoast.com, on the ABC7 My Suncoast app, powered by the Eye Associates, providing sight for life, featuring traffic maps and live radar, dining with recipes, and My Suncoast Restaurant Guide. Visit mysuncoast.com. Click on the Apps tab to download the ABC7 My Suncoast app for Apple and Android.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
Our conversation on the 17th Congressional District race continues right after we get a check on the first alert forecast with meteorologist.
Hi, Alan. We had a lot of breezes today, but less clouds than we saw yesterday afternoon, and there were some scattered showers across Florida. On Monday afternoon, we're not seeing today either. So drier air, the winds are still in place, and if anything, it's going to get a little more moist, which is a good thing for the fire danger, but winds still gusting east-southeast at 15, gusting higher than that. Be very careful in the great outdoors. 77, the airport temperature, dew point 52, humidity 42%. And across the state, you can see those little cumulus clouds as the sun goes down, disappearing there at sunset. But there weren't a lot of them today, and there certainly wasn't a lot in the way of rain, just a few light showers earlier in the day that have disappeared. Another day of severe weather threat across Texas, a couple spots there that's going to shift eastward the next couple of days. In fact, this is our next weather maker, predicted to come through Friday night into Saturday without a great chance of rain. We'll look at more closely. But a cloudy and dull day around New York City. Temperature at New York City at this hour, 42, and it's raining. It's going to be damp and cool and rainy through New England tonight and tomorrow. And then they'll start clearing out as we move to the latter part of the week. Well, what about our futurecast? Well, we're currently being controlled by strong high pressure off the Atlantic coast, and it's channeling in that easterly wind flow. Kind of mild, it's getting kind of dry too, but those winds will slowly shift around to a southerly direction as that high kind of shifts its axis back down toward the Bahamas. And so it's going to feel warmer and more humid as the week goes on. And as this front approaches, it looks pretty impressive at 7 p.m. This is our in-house RPM computer model. Let's go to the European model from the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting from Thursday evening into the weekend. And it really kind of breaks apart. This is a Friday evening showing. It still looks a little impressive to the north of Tampa Bay, but Friday evening into early Saturday, it just kind of falls apart. Mainly a few clouds and a few scattered showers overnight Saturday into Saturday morning. Saturday, the front passes, and for Easter Sunday, skies clear, beautiful weather, and mild temperatures. Here's your forecast coming up for the next 48 hours, starting with tonight's forecast. Partly cloudy, 58 the low temperature, pretty close to normal with those east winds slackening off oh so slowly overnight, but they'll be back again tomorrow, hopefully not as blustery. Partly sunny skies and mild, high temperature 81. Easterly wind in the morning, southerly wind in the afternoon, 5 to 15. And here's your 7-day. Showing that Easter weekend forecast, breezy right on and off through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And you just saw the front approaches Friday night, Saturday with a slight chance of showers. Clearing out, and then Easter Sunday looks like a beautiful day. And we cannot break this dry weather pattern, which is predicted to last into and maybe even through next week. Alan will be back with his guest in just a couple minutes. Stay with us.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
They are the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. But what does it take to bridge the distance and keep them connected to family, home, and country? What does it take to strengthen our service members so they can be the greatest force for good in the world? It takes a force. Be a force behind the forces. Give today at force.uso.org.
Every time you purchase a fishing license or register your boat, you're helping to preserve our nation's coastlines, lakes, rivers, and streams, protecting memories for generations to come. Learn how your participation in boating and fishing can help the environment at takemefishing.org/conservation.
I'll be right back.
Hi! You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome back. We're talking about the race for Congress in the 17th Congressional District and the dominoes in the State House and the Senate races. Joining us for more are Frank Alcock, political science professor at New College, Martin Hyde, a former candidate for Sarasota City Commission, and Kathy Antunes, host of The Detail on WSRQ Radio. Kathy, let me ask you this, especially after Parkland, there's been so much energy amongst young people and many folks involving the gun issue.
Yeah.
Does the gun issue play in any sort of way in the 17th Congressional District, also taking into account how aggressive Greg Steube has been on the state level in terms of trying to expand gun rights?
Yeah, well, I think when you look at the configuration of this particular district, we're talking, you know, south of I-4 corridor, middle of the state. I don't know that the gun issue in terms of, you know, improved enhanced safety, maybe it will, but that does seem to me to be a more rural, conservative area. For my money, I mean, I think there are conservatives out there who support sane gun legislation, but I think there's also room for an economic message, because the people that have been swayed by our president's, you know, campaign promises in terms of keeping Medicare safe, you know, improving their lives. We've seen moderate Democrats, someone like Connor Lamb, who is a conservative Democrat, a fiscal conservative, but who wants to protect these programs that make people's lives better. You know, I don't know if people under Trump who voted for him are doing better. And if we get conservative Democratic candidates who make that message, there's opportunity.
We are already hearing talk in Washington in terms of doing something about entitlements. That means Social Security and Medicare. This district may be very Republican, but it's also very white and very older, Martin. So does that give you as a Republican pause that since there are so many things going on right now in the country in terms of the explosiveness of our politics at the federal level, that maybe Republicans shouldn't take this congressional district for granted?
I think it'd be a mistake to do it. I looked at the numbers earlier. There's 57,000 more registered Republicans in this district, but there are 109,000 NPAs. That's, if one was looking for an opportunity, that's where it is. America is more in the middle, perhaps, than people would imagine. The rural areas, yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to get in there and talk about taking people's guns. But the question is really whether a blue wave is a blue tsunami. Midterms, I looked at those numbers. Obama lost 63 net, Clinton lost 52, FDR lost 72. Ford and Eisenhower both 48, Harding and Hoover 77 and 52. There can be massive swings. And so I wouldn't be sitting pretty if I was anyone. I'd be out there and make sure that you campaign on your core issues.
So, Frank, we know that the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee is targeting the 16th Congressional District. That's Vern Buchanan, but you have not heard much in the week since Congressman Rooney made his announcement about the National Democrats really sniffing very seriously at the 17th.
I haven't heard anything to date. April Freeman's running again. She's somebody that I actually got to know a lot because the Senate district that I ran for overlaps with that. And you know, she's a good candidate. There might be others that come in. I think I agree. I'm not sure that the optimal candidate would look like Connor Lamb, but I do think if a Democrat is going to be viable, then they're going to have to make the case that what affects people's lives in that district, they're going to be the better person to represent them. And there could be a lot that happens in the next year or the next 6 to 8 months within a Trump presidency that opens the door to a Democrat making that case. So I wouldn't take anything for granted, and I wouldn't rule anything out.
8 or 9 months in politics is a lifetime, as we have learned over and over again. Of course, Tom Rooney's departure and the open seats has really created a domino effect here. You have people like Greg Steube and Julio Gonzalez now running for that seat, which opens their seats in the state Senate and the state House. One interesting thing, Martin, you probably want to talk about is the fact that one of the Republicans running for Julio Gonzalez's House seat is James Buchanan, who just ran and lost here in House 72, the son of Vern.
Well, you know, when opportunity knocks, I kidded with James the other day. I said, you know, no point in buying a house, just get a caravan and keep moving south. But, you know, joking aside, you can never tell when these opportunities might come up. He obviously wants to stay in the game. He obviously feels that's a winning position. I would say one thing, and it's not partisan at all. I have a little bit of a concern, or a little bit of a doubt as a voter and as a citizen about, I understand what Congressman's job is to become a senator's job to become president, but I'm a little bit frustrated with people that took an office, ran a campaign, and then the minute something else better opened up, said, we'll see you later. I'm frustrated with that.
All right. So therefore you were talking about Greg Stubbe, Julio Gonzalez, Joe Gruters, anybody else?
Or anybody else. That's got nothing to do with whether you're a conservative or whether you're a liberal. If you take it on, if you take people's votes, I think you're entitled to see the thing out.
Kathy, Julio Gonzalez's seat that James Buchanan is running for is a reliably Republican seat here. I know in my own experience that the national parties, they say their research does not show that carpetbagging really in the end has an impact on how people vote. But you're on the radio every day. What are people saying to you in terms of Buchanan? If you remember, he started off running for the state Senate. He switched to House 72. Now this House seat. What are folks saying?
It doesn't look good. You know, it's like, okay, where do you live? You know, and the rules may permit what he's doing. They in fact do. In fact, you know, I've heard people saying, well, the rules need to change. This is ridiculous. But, you know, the reality is if it's a reliably Republican seat, it may well be that, you know, he'll just get that vote. I would hope that there are other Republicans running. It just seems to me there's a sense of entitlement that turns people off. You know, he has a last name that we all know.
And a lot of money.
And, well, but he only reported $23,000 worth of income, which is another strange dichotomy. So you're a millionaire, but your annual income is 23 grand. You know, you don't live in the district. Well, what's going on? There's just, I think to Martin's point, people in a different vein, people want to see a commitment. And if you don't even live in the place you're running for, it just doesn't look good.
You are the political scientist.
As much I concur with my fellow panelists. We're living in an era, like it or not, where as much as we would like citizens in a certain area to select their representative, it tends to be the powerful and influential folks that get to choose the districts that they represent, as opposed to vice versa.
Martin, do you think that, you know, whoever wins the Republican primary in that district, and I believe it's the vice mayor of it's either Northport or Venice who's running for that, she is not going to have the same amount of resources and money that James Buchanan has.
No, as I understand it, James has a fair bit of money over. It's interesting that you can carry it over. He carried it over from 71 to 72, and now he's able to take whatever he's got left over to 74. As far as, you know, it isn't fair, and I found that, you know, in the last couple of years. The reality is that unless you're a favored candidate, unless you have access to the big names, when they came up with the congressional race there and Greg put his name in, the day he put his name in, he had endorsements from everybody up and down the state. That's just not open to your average guy standing on a soapbox. This is a rigged game on both sides.
We have less than a minute left, Kathy, but do you think that there are more shoes to drop in this domino effect of the races here?
Well, I do think that to the extent that people make an economic case, the Democratic Party, if they've got game, I would love to see them take on some of these issues that are in people's lives, affecting them. You know, what's going to happen to Social Security, to Medicare? Who's really going to make sure that your quality of life improves? They haven't done that. In my view, they have to get better at doing that, because the swing voters who went for President Trump, I don't know that their lives are really any better.
Okay, we will have to leave it there. But before we go, we want to share with you what some of you had to say about last night's show on the March for Our Lives. The march took place over the weekend with nearly 8,000 people coming out in Sarasota and 3,000 in Bradenton. They include students, educators, and parents who were voicing their opinions on gun control and school safety. Gilbert says, I would never march in an organized protest that directly opposes our constitutional rights and freedom. This is the first time I have ever heard of Americans demanding that our own rights be taken away. Margaret responds, which rights? The rights to free speech, the right of a well-organized militia to bear arms, or our right to assemble peacefully and not be in fear of being shot by some lunatic using military-grade weaponry? Well, if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And for the latest on local breaking news, don't forget to download the updated version of our app. If your old app doesn't work, it's expired. Just go to the App Store and re-download it by searching for WWSB or My Suncoast. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight. Frank Alcock is a political science professor at New College, Martin Hyde, a former candidate for Sarasota City Commission, and Kathy Antunes, host of The Detail on WSRQ Radio. When we return, we'll be joined by our consumer watchdog, Jerry Zivick, who will talk to us about credit card fraud. Stay with us.
Since 1972, Sleep King has provided quality mattresses and accessories at the best discounted prices available. Top brands like Simmons, Sealy, Serta, Beautyrest, iComfort, and more. With available free delivery, free financing, and free setup and removal. For a comfortable night's sleep with same-day delivery, even if we have to carry it on our backs. Trust Sleep King of Sarasota. Buy it today, sleep on it tonight.
Coast Guard, we are taking on water.
The United States Coast Guard. They secure our ports and waterways, protect our environment, keep drugs away from our kids, and save lives. It's dangerous work. And in times of triumph or tragedy, the Coast Guard Foundation answers the call to support Coast Guard members and their families. Learn more at coastguardfoundation.org.
Once you get atrial fibrillation, you need to have a very close relationship with your primary doctor. Prevention is the whole ball game here, because once you have a stroke, you can't undo it. A year without stroke, it's a year that you can enjoy doing the things that you've worked all your life to finally get to do. You took care of yourself. You did what is necessary for you to be around one more year. And then next year, we'll celebrate one more year without a stroke.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions.
Prescription drugs aren't as bad as street drugs, right?
Weed's legal, isn't it?
Drinking is worse than smoking weed.
Isn't it? Why
is heroin so addictive?
Molly just makes you feel happy.
I have questions.
Mom?
Dad, did you ever try drugs?
They're going to ask. Be ready. Go to drugfree.org. A message from Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blog, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
Welcome back. We have seen credit card and data breaches happen far too often, and here to tell us how we could protect ourselves better is ABC7 consumer watchdog Jerry Zivick. Jerry, there have been a lot of changes that have been made. One of them that's interesting is that coming up very soon, you're no longer going to really have to write your signature when you're paying for something with a credit card. Most people would get really nervous about that.
Well, actually, as soon as this Saturday, April 1st, the credit card companies feel that there's no reason to sign at the point of sale anymore. They feel they have so many back-end internet software devices and programs to protect the consumer from fraud. And they also feel there's been a lot of push from the merchants that this slows down the entire purchase. And if you think about it, and the credit card companies will admit, when you sign at that point of purchase, they have no way to verify that it's really your signature.
Well, is that true or not?
It is true.
Is it true that it really doesn't make a difference in terms of safety and security?
Well, they're saying it doesn't. I mean, and it's very possible they're correct. I think it's very important for the viewers to know they should watch their credit card statements very carefully the next few months, because there can be some unintended consequences from this whole giving up the signatures.
What about the use of chips in the security, those little square things that are on your credit card now? That has been promised to make the whole process more secure. Is it in fact the case?
Absolutely, it's the case. The chips are much harder for a criminal or a hacker to clone. Chip fraud has gone down dramatically. The amount of where the fraudsters are targeting right now are instances where credit cards are not at the point of purchase, like if you use the internet to purchase something or if you buy something over the phone. That amount of fraud is going up exponentially. They're talking about over $6 billion worth of credit card fraud this coming year.
Yeah, we keep on hearing about data breaches, especially at the large stores and so forth. In the end, people are becoming more skeptical and more concerned about their security using their credit cards. But in fact, are there real good efforts out there to make the whole process safer?
Well, I think there's a lot of money at stake, and I think companies are trying to do their best to protect us. However, what seems to be counterintuitive, so we have this chip that's hard to copy, yet on the very same credit card we have a magnetic strip that's very easy to copy. They need to eliminate the magnetic strip completely in order for the card to be safe.
I know some places have not yet in terms of using the swiping to run your credit card. Jerry, thank you very much. Jerry Zivic joins us every other Tuesday in our For-Your Benefit segment. When we return, we'll have a final look at your first alert weather, plus tensions between the U.S. and Russia continue to rise after the expulsion of Russian diplomats and spies. Stay with us.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Zupan, part of the U.S. Paralympic rugby team. In my game, movement is everything. I get frustrated when my move is blocked, especially when that guy has no right to be there, even just for a minute. I love a challenge, but I don't like to play this game every day.
A message from the United Spinal Association.
In life after the military, it's our duty as veterans to have each other's back. I'm retired Colonel Greg Gatson, and it's my mission to help you get the benefits and services you've earned. If you need to file a VA claim, remember these important steps. Submit an online claim through ebenefits.va.gov. Work with an accredited Veteran Service Organization, or VSO. And if you need to attend a VA claim exam, please go. Visit this website to learn what to expect.
Dear parents, it's time for a pop quiz. What's the best kind of play for kids? Play that makes us think? Or helps us pretend? Or teaches us rules? Or to be creative? Actually, every kind of play is important because different kinds of play give us different kinds of skills. Help us mix up the ways we play. Okay, class dismissed. Now go play.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get the final check on our first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Steve Newman.
The Chief is on vacation enjoying. Bob Harrigan is enjoying his family during this Easter week. Hi, Bob, if you're watching. We have a lot of wind. That's the one thing you're noticing if you're out and about is the strong winds over the bay. They were so strong, they had to cancel the sailboat regatta from the sailing squadron at City Island today. They were in the wrong direction and too strong. Hopefully they'll be out on the bay tomorrow enjoying it. It's 82, the high at Tampa. So temperatures today a few degrees cooler than they were yesterday. Yesterday, Punta Gorda was 90, 83 today, and I think we've dropped off 2-3 degrees in Sarasota with a high of 83 this afternoon. The winds are not slackening off all that much. You can still see them anywhere from 10 to 15 miles per hour across the Sun Coast, not only across Sarasota and Manatee County, but southern Sarasota and Charlotte County as well. And if anything, they'll drop off a little tonight, but be back tomorrow. Hopefully, the wind direction will shift to the southeast. It will help those sailors out on Sarasota Bay. Well, you can see the little puffy cumulus clouds disappearing as the sun goes down along the Atlantic coast. Some of them made it all the way across the state, but there were none that had any showers today, contrary to what we had yesterday at this time. This is the second day of the threat of severe thunderstorms across Texas. Out west Texas and now southern Texas. Tomorrow that threat moves to the eastern half of the Lone Star State and into Louisiana. And it's actually the weather system that will bring us our next chance of rain over the weekend. No watches or warnings in effect despite that threat from the Storm Prediction Center. Good news so far, except it's very windy. There are wind advisories in East Texas, and it's been raining off and on so long. There are flash flood watches and a couple of warnings in effect as well. Strongest storms between Durant, Oklahoma and Fort Smith, Arkansas. High pressure over the Atlantic coast is directing those strong winds over Florida and Sarasota Bay, but look what happens as that high drifts southward the next 48 hours. The wind direction shifts to more southerly direction, hopefully more favorable for sailing, and we can see that front to the west of us that will pass by and break apart as it passes over us on Friday night and Saturday. So not a great chance of rain, only about a 30% chance. Southeast winds tomorrow on the bay and on the outer waters, 15 knots, seas 2 feet, a moderate chop on the bay. 80 degrees, the beach temperature, and not quite as breezy, we'll hope, with a water temperature between 69 and 70. It's been oscillating between those two temperatures all day. Here's my forecast for tonight. It'll be partly cloudy, our low temperature 58, and it'll still be breezy, of course. And tomorrow, a mostly sunny day to partly sunny, mild, high temperature 81. You can see the winds shifting from easterly to southerly as the day goes on. And the 7-day shows breezes off and on for the rest of this week. And as we move into the weekend, that weak front comes through with a slight chance of showers Friday night into Saturday. The sky is clear for Easter Sunday when the high will be 81 degrees. Alan comes back with his primetime headlines right after these words. Stay tuned.
Each day, researchers make discoveries that bring us closer to the moment when all cancer patients can become survivors. Their progress is made possible with the help of clinical trials. Clinical trials are the brightest torch researchers have to light their way towards better treatments. And if you've been diagnosed with cancer, they may be your brightest ray of hope. Speak with your doctor and visit standuptocancer.org/clinical trials to learn more. Together, we can stand up for all of us.
Stay connected to your clients and new customers using ABC7 Digital Media Services. Our team of professionals provide a wide array of digital services to help you get the most out of your website. We specialize in building and helping you maintain the most effective digital solutions for your business. It's vital that your online presence stands out, so our experts will equip you with the best resources available. Trust ABC7 Digital Media Services to give you the right tools to grow your business.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish!
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
A promise was made, a promise that hit the beaches of Normandy, a vow that captured Iwo Jima, a contract that weathered Tet, a pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq, an IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. DAV fights to keep that promise, so all veterans and their families get the benefits and support they earned. For help, visit DAV.org.
I took my first handful of pills, and that's when all my priorities seemed to change.
He would ask to use the bathroom in other people's homes.
He just assumed that they would have medication.
He'd go in their medicine cabinets and steal prescription drugs.
I wish I knew really what these prescription pills were.
We were so naive about the whole drug thing.
These are all synthetic forms of heroin.
Keep your medication locked up because you'll never notice that a pill is gone.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Checking primetime headlines, the rift between the West and Russia deepening this week with the announcement of the mass expulsion of Russian diplomats and spies around the world. ABC's Tara Palmieri has the story.
The U.S. and its allies taking action against Russia for their alleged poisoning of a former Russian spy and his daughter in Britain. The U.S. is deporting 60 Russian diplomats and shutting down a Russian consulate in Seattle, leaving just 3 others open. More than 20 other countries joining the U.S., making it the biggest mass expulsion of Russian diplomats since the Cold War.
The Russian government must understand that there are serious consequences for its destabilizing actions.
President Trump condemned the suspected Russian government attack through his press office, but never mentioned it when he spoke to Russian President Vladimir Putin last week. And Mr. Trump's name doesn't appear on the official statement.
It looks like it. I spoke with the Prime Minister, and we are in deep discussions, a very sad situation. It certainly looks like the Russians were behind it, something that should never, ever happen.
Speaking from Prague, House Speaker Paul Ryan praised the coordinated response.
Solidarity on this frontier of freedom is more important than ever. It's everything, really.
Firing back, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov calling it, quote, a provocative step and warned that they would respond quickly. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg not backing down.
Russia has underestimated the unity of NATO allies.
The European Union warning of more to come.
Additional measures, including further expulsions within the common EU framework, are not to be excluded in the coming days and weeks.
Today, a spokesperson for the National Security Council said the Trump administration has yet to enact the recommended sanctions on a list of Russian oligarchs. Tara Palmieri, ABC News, Washington.
Here's Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg will testify before Congress. He will now testify at a Senate hearing on April 10th. This all comes after Cambridge Analytica reportedly accessed information from about 50 million Facebook users without their knowledge. Zuckerberg's willingness to testify means Google CEO Sundar Pichai and Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey could be next. Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley officially invited all of them to the hearing. So last week, President Trump announced tariffs on China, and this week he may be asking China for a huge loan. According to the Treasury Department, the government plans to sell about $294 billion worth of debt. That's the highest amount for a week since the record set during the 2008 financial crisis. This debt auction comes at an awkward time. Last week, Trump vowed to impose wide-ranging tariffs on China, which holds $1.17 trillion of U.S. debt. So just who is calling to get rid of the Second Amendment? Retired Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens, writing in an op-ed published in the New York Times today, saying in part a constitutional amendment to get rid of the Second Amendment would be simple and would do more to weaken the NRA's ability to stymie legislative debate. Stevens believes the students and demonstrators who protested this past weekend for gun control should try to make that happen. And that's all the team we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohen. Good night.